Okay, this is a research paper by Gordon Blair and Robert Key, and it concerns a dyno that he was proposing, and the test engine is a 100cc revalve crank-induced intake two-stroke, and it's a fantastic paper that is chock full of all kinds of details, and it's the basis for much of what I've done because everything's there. It has more details than any other two-stroker I've ever encountered has ever been able to provide for his engine. So in this, here's the details on the exhaust pipe. It looks weird right here because he tested two designs. One is a carding design where they perforate the baffle cone and they add this extra canister onto the pipe, and this is the stinger right here. That's a typical carding pipe for two-stroke, and he also tested just a regular expansion chamber with the regular stinger, no muffler. And the pressure sensor was placed here at 100 millimeters from the piston. So on the pressure traces, here's an example of one at 8,000 hertz. On the pressure traces on this paper, you'll see a delay between exhaust opening and the exhaust pulse. That's that delay of transversing that 100 millimeters. And then as the waves come back to the pressure sensor from the cones comes back, it's lacking that time to come back to the cylinder. So the correction of these graphs here is to move this to the left and all the rest of this to the right by that same amount right here. And that is exactly what I have done. And this shot right here, moved it to the left and these to the right. And this right here is what it would look like using my calculator, which shows just the primary waves, the diffuser wave and the baffle wave. It does not show the secondary waves, and that's what I want to get into in this video. So here you see the baffle wave, and this is a version of it that's reality, and the reality of there's another wave superimposed upon it, and that is one of the secondary waves. And the same thing, this is at 8,000 hertz, same thing for 10,000 hertz. This is what the baffle wave should look like, and rather it's a little bit depressed right here and then majorly depressed right here. And so instead of having a nice pressure here between, oh, I'm sorry, that's not transfer closing. Ignore what I was just fixing to say. Let me find an example why this matters. Okay. You want pressure between transfer closing and exhaust closing. And in this case, that secondary wave has basically ruined a lot of the pressure between transfer closing and exhaust closing. So that's going to affect the power. So I'm going to incorporate into EC-Calc the generation of those waves and mixing them with the primary waves to show what you actually get, so that the pipe wave grapher will be realistic. And it might be that they're so dependent upon port duration and pipe specs that we may not be able to do much about that. I'm going to do some more further investigation and see what types of pipes or what types of engines are more prone to this problem than others. What you can do, this shows 3 waves that happen. Third wave, fourth wave, and the stinger wave. And the stinger wave is something you can do something about, because you can easily extend the stinger section of the pipe. It should start at exhaust closing on this example, and it's not, so it should be a little bit longer. Okay, I was forgetting to explain why the extra waves are generated. Normally what happens is the exhaust pulse comes down the header. When it hits the diffuser section, immediately returning from it is the suction wave, and when it hits the baffle cone, immediately returning from it is a pressure wave. Okay, that suction wave comes back, and some of that energy is expended because the reed valve is open, or can be opened, and it actually bounces back. Still a suction wave, and when it hits this, it doesn't invert again to a pressure wave, but it returns another suction wave. And when that original suction wave comes here, it bounces back as a suction wave. So you've got 2 negative waves coming back as a result. And then when the original exhaust pulse leaves the stinger, a suction wave comes. So that's the explanation of the 3 waves that are being generated, that are overlaying on top of the primary waves. What I did is I analyzed Blair's graphs and the numbers, the timing from exhaust opening at which these incidents, the beginning and the end of these waves happen. And I was able to come up with formulas that pretty well parallel what we're seeing here in reality. So here on sheet 1, this section right here, it shows for each of these RPMs what the beginning and the end of each of those suction waves are. So then you can look up here at transfer close time, exhaust close time, to see whether or not it's interfering. And in this case, none of the stinger waves are interfering, but these 2 are. And like I said, I'm going to make the sheet 3 combine all this together, so that it'll show up right here, and then the pipe grapher will be able to work with that to show the true pipe power. Blair also gave examples of 16,000 hertz, and EC-Calc also agrees with what is shown here. So this is pretty exciting, something that's been lacking for quite a while in my EC-Calc, because it's just, in the past, it just determined the primary waves. Even, like I said, even though there may not be anything you can do about it, at least you'll know, and you'll be able to see what the results are in the pipe power band. So I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to tell. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.